Okay, this is 7.2, using trig to find a side. Okay, so we are going to use what we know about trig ratios to actually solve for a side of a right triangle. So again, we only use trig ratios when we're dealing with sides. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to have you guys draw this triangle. This should also be review, hopefully. Okay, so draw a right triangle. We're going to label this side 7. We are going to label this side X. And then we're going to label this 46 degrees. Okay? So we are trying to find this, what X is, right? And we're given an angle and we're given a side. So when this is the case, we actually need to use trig ratios, okay? So the first step that we need to do is we need to identify which trig ratio to use, okay? So we're given only one angle, this angle right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label the sides based on this one angle. Again, the side across the 90-degree angle is the hypotenuse. The side across from the angle given is the opposite, which means the one left is the adjacent. Okay, so if you look, I'm given the opposite and I'm looking for the hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm trying to think of, I'm looking at SOHCAHTOA right now, right? And I'm asking myself, okay, which ones deal with opposite and hypotenuse? Opposite and hypotenuse. Well, the answer is the SO, right? The sine, right? Because we know sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm going to write out my equation. I know the sine and I know my angle. The sine of 46 equals, well, my opposite is 7 and my hypotenuse is x. Okay? When I have an equation like this, where like x is at the bottom, I like to just put this over 1 and I'm going to cross multiply. So 7 times 1 is 7, and x times sine 46 is just x sine of 46 degrees. Now I need to solve for x. So I can do this by dividing by sine of 46, right? So I'm going to divide by sine of 46. Let's see if I can be all fancy with the calculator. So first thing you want to do is go to mode and make sure you're in degrees. See how I'm in radians? You want to be in degrees because right now we're dealing with angle measures. So I am going to do 7 divided by sine of 46. And you will see, let's do it to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimal places. The length of the side is 9.73, okay? If you feel like you understand this, you don't have to watch the rest of the video, but I'm going to do one more example, okay? So let's say I have a right triangle. This is not very good, but let's say, okay, I'm trying to think of something strategic. So let's say I have x and 6, and this is 23. Okay, 23 degrees. So same thing, I first got to identify which trig function am I going to use. Am I going to use sine, cosine, or tan? Whoops, that was supposed to be SOHCAHTOA. I'm messing up. Okay, so I'm going to label based on this angle. The one across from my 90 degrees is the hypotenuse. The one across from my angle is opposite. And the last one left is adjacent. Adjacent means next to. So if you notice, I'm looking for the opposite and I'm given the adjacent. So which one deals with the opposite and adjacent? Well, it's the TOA, tan, because I know tan equals opposite over adjacent. So again, I'm going to make my equation. Tan of 23 equals, well, opposite is x and the adjacent is 6. Okay, so again, I personally like to just put this over 1 and cross multiply. So x times 1 is just x, and then 6 times tan of 23. Well, I can actually just put this straight in my calculator. So I'm going to do just that. Let's see. So I am going to put in I'm over here. So 6 tan 23. And I am going to get x equals, again, I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimal places, 2.55. Okay? So that is how you solve for a missing side. If you have questions, let us know. Move on to practice.